Hello there, people of the internet. It's your boy, Skinny Penis, and we are reviving an old video series, essentially. I'm probably gonna do another video on Lauria at some stage, but I don't really think there's so much or too much to talk about with this one. So what we're going to do here is I have 2 replays, played the ship for like 10 games. I have 2 pretty good replays, and I can go and mold a bit about the introduction of this battleship, because it's at this stage it's becoming like comical as to how broken every single new BB is. Like, we're reaching new states of BB brokenness every single patch. Meanwhile, cruisers are absolute garbage, and I mean, even DDs are essentially 50-50. You either have a completely useless destroyer or you have some really broken demented shit like Gdansk. But yeah, Lauria really is something in terms of balancing. I mean, personally, I think it's incredible that the BB player base is that fucking demented, that these ships actually go to life in the state they are. I mean, we're literally talking about a fusion. That's what I would call it. Like, it's a fusion of a Kreml and a Thunderer. With, instead of like having HE, you have SAP, which obviously doesn't allow you to sit turbo far back and get million damage because of fires. But that's not the point of this ship, because they fused the insane tankiness of Kreml. Essentially, that thing is as tanky as a Kreml. Don't really listen to other, I don't know, fucking streamers, content creators or whatever. Say like, the ship isn't tanky just because they play it improper. The thing is an Italian BB, and we by now all know that Italian battleships and cruisers are not to be played close to the enemy while kited. But that's skill issue. Like, you just have to be nose in and actually have the balls to push in. If you die, you die. Just get gooder, I guess. Because if you're nose in, the ship is way more resilient to HE than a fucking Kreml. Like, it's ridiculously tanky. It's super easy to disengage. But you have to just accept that either you're staying further back so you can go dark and the enemy can't shoot your ass and the stepped citadel, or you go nose in and run it in. I mean, if you're kited out 5-6 km from a battleship and you think like, yeah, kiting is the play, then sure, get punished. I don't know, lose HP for your stupidity. As you can see here, I'm in front of the cap not spotted. We have really good dispersion. The dispersion is slightly worse than, what is it? Vincent. No, not Vincent. Thunderer. Thunderer has like, what, 1.8 sigma with battlecruiser dispersion. This one has 1.7 sigma with battlecruiser dispersion. So it's like, it's slightly worse than a Thunderer, but not much. You have the SAP, which overmatches 30mm. So essentially it's like shooting AP. You can just load SAP with higher alpha on cruisers and penetrate them anyway at any angle. The 30mm ones. For some odd reason, I mean, it's not an odd reason, it's a very known reason, and it's going into the how brain damaged people are in battleship category again. This battleship gets Vincent AP. Like, it has short fuse AP on 4.57s. The interesting part about that shit is you can't really citadel battleships at medium to long distances at all, because your fuse is too short. So battleship monkeys can go flat. You will pen them, but you won't get citadels. The funny part though is that you're way more punishing against flat broadside cruisers, because you're not like, normally the Italian BBs are pretty known for very low arcs, fast shells. Like the 380 AP of the Colombo is pretty impressive. Like, it has decent pen and it's easy to hit. Obviously Colombo dispersion is a problem, and it doesn't have the overmatch. So if you would get the normal AP here, your ship would be a hilarious sniper at sniping battleships. Like, essentially like Thunderer. Thunderer doesn't have short fuse and you can smash battleships pretty easily. You can't do that with Lauria, really. Maybe like an NC you can citadel. I don't think I citadel Amir in this game. I mean, I played the games like a week ago or so I don't really know it anymore. I mean, I'm not even hitting here, so whatever. But yeah, you, especially light cruisers, flat broadside, suffer pretty big against this one. Heavy cruisers you citadel anyway. Like, cruisers don't really have the armor to abuse the short fuse. Like, you still citadel all the cruisers, but you can't citadel battleships. And in the light cruiser department, you citadel even easier. So yeah, So the quintessence of that AP is it's not good against battleships, essentially, or like not as good as it should be against battleships, but it's better against cruisers. So the entire ship is designed around the fact that you fuck on cruisers for free, while battleships can even turn in front of you at 12 km and you probably won't sit them. It's really cool. The only downside of this ship is like that it has a citadel. Like Lauria has a pretty high sit. You can't just gamer turn in front of people, but you don't really need to. Your gun angles are nuts and your armor is crazy. And the ass and especially the ass and the stepped sit on the ass is a problem because people can punch right through it if they're close. It's like a Napoli. You can't kite to another heavy cruiser or battleship 4 or 5 kilometers close. If you kite and you show him his ass, he can easily kill you. Especially something like something like a Des Moines just straight up pens your ass all the time for full pens and you die. So you can't do that here really either. Like even Moskva and Stalin or Petro can citadel you fairly easily through the ass, close up. Yeah, so that is a problem, but you can really easily play around it because the shit is fucking hilariously tanky nose in. Barely any superstructure. From like the middle of the ship onwards, it has some bullshit 150 millimeters something deck. Like the deck is essentially impenetrable against anything. HE doesn't penetrate, barely any superstructure. It's super small, it's super low in the water. Actually, even if you turn flat broadside, it's pretty hard to hit. On top of that, you kind of have you're very susceptible to 32 millimeter overmatch. Like, essentially nothing in this game really kills you, unless it's like torps, but that's kind of the problem of every BB. But here you have less torpedo protection than on like a Satsuma, and you have less HP. So kind of torpedoes would fuck you. In general, torpedoes fuck any ship. The difference is this ship is very nimble, small, and maneuverable, and it's fast. So you can easily dodge torpedoes, kind of, or position yourself in ways that torps don't really hit you. Yeah. And 32 overmatch is like the biggest thing. You gotta be really careful against 32 overmatchers because the armor platings that, like normal BBs and cruisers, but especially BBs, they don't punch through your angle 32 sides or nose and ass. But the moment you have a 32 overmatcher, it overmatches sides and shit, and or like parts of your ship. And the moment it overmatches, you have these weird stepped citadels inside of you. So 32 overmatch can essentially citadel you from any angle, any distance, any angle. It happened to me, and you gotta be really careful against something like a Yamato, a Satsuma. If they spam you a lot, you might just end up eating some random 19k citadel from a Satsuma. It's not unlikely. The problem with that is though, like why or how would the battleship in base be able to farm you? Like you go 40 knots with brisk, which is once again like you're faster than cruisers. It's spastic as shit. You have 12.3 km concealment, as you can see. Like look at this stupid concealment on the minimap. Hey, why does a battleship with that kind of armor, firepower, consistency in guns and ammo types and shit and overmatch, why does it get that concealment and speed? You're essentially like a cruiser killer. Like no cruiser wins a 1v1 against you, essentially. That's it. Your SAP is so spastic that even Russian cruisers can't really live against you. Like I had fights against the Stalingrad, nose in, where 2 salvos, like literally I shot 2 salvos and he went minus 40k with pen damage from SAP. Minus 40k, that's more than half his HP removed with pen damage. It's stupid. Like the thing is not balanced at all. There is no balancing factor of it. It just doesn't exist. I mean, on this battleship, they even created such a demented BB in terms of 2 ammo types that for light cruisers you don't even have to switch ammo. Like that's the state we reached. Your SAP straight up citadels, anything that is like Smalley, Colbert, tier 8 light cruisers for sure, like even something like a Harbin, Yinan, Austin, even Edgar, Minnow, Brisbane. Like I death struck an Edgar with SAP, flat broadside. Because the funny part is also, since you citadel them, your SAP shells actually have higher citadel damage, higher max damage, like your pen damage is way more. Yeah, it's incredibly brain damaged, and I mean I got a bit lucky, sure, like you always have to remind yourself of like matchmaking and stuff, but I played like 10 games and I have like 2.8 average ranks, because your alpha is so high you can actually easily get average ranks, because If you combine high alpha with all penning ammunition or overmatch, you generally tend to be a very good finisher. Like a 10k cruiser probably dies to one volley of me, and I don't have to chance it on AP overpens or some crap like other BBs. I can just shoot sap and get full pens most of the time. Just a disastrous fucking concept, honestly. And I have over 200 average. And I think if you play it with a DD in a division and you really concentrate, you get half decent matchmaking. It doesn't have to be the best matchmaking, but half decent one. You can. This is definitely a 200k average BB that doesn't boast HE, and that is fucking spastic and crazy to think about. Like it's not only like Thunder, it does 200k average too. It has the overmatch, it has the HE, also the HE pen, sure, but it doesn't have the tankiness. Like, that's the problem. Like, in this fucking thing here, I don't die to HE spam. I don't die to AP. And even if I have a 32 overmatch weakness, I have less of a weakness against 32 overmatch than a Thunderer. Because I have certain parts of my ship are plated so heavily that I bounce a 32 a lot as well. So, like, I mean, we removed Thunderer because it's too strong, and then we just recreate it with some, like, I don't know. I could go more here into the gameplay, but as you can see, you just have sap permaloaded most of the time, and you just click people for 20k sometimes. Sometimes even 25 or 30k. Like, if you get a really good hit on an unsaturated ship, I think Mali in CBs already got a 32k volley with sap on a Vermont. On a fucking Vermont. And it was long range, angled out. Vermont. Like, the Vermont angled again. Like, AP wouldn't have done damage there, really. Maybe 10k. HE, sure, you could have set fires and penned. But he got 33k angled on a battleship that has 55 plating and shit. But it doesn't matter, because your SEP has, I don't know, 100 millimeters of garbage pen or some crap. Like, I don't know. It overmatches 30 and it pens more than 100. It's really cool. Like, it's really cool. You have such high SAP pen that you can even pen, like, German BBs or Russian BBs, side plating and stuff. Or deck plating. I wouldn't advise it though, like those are the only two ships I wouldn't necessarily spam SAP against, German and Russian BBs, but the rest of the BBs is just SAP farming fiesta. And as I said in the beginning, like, just don't really listen to fucking coping people on this ship. Like, it's not that good, or it's just mediocre, or like it gets fucking citadel or smashed through the ass. Like, yeah, if that wouldn't be the case, this ship would be, like, by far the most broken BB on tier 10, most likely. Especially for randoms, or in the cruiser versus BB engagement. Because I can farm a Thunder at least with a Des Moines. I can't farm this thing here with a Des Moines, I assure you. So, like, that's a bit weird. Also, people, because they're BB monkey player mindset, they always want to load AP and go for the big-time deletion volleys. Well, you just gotta train yourself to, as you would in a Thunderer, shoot HE all the time, or most of the time, even though it has great AP. On this ship, you just load SAP all the time. Difference here being, though, by the way, which is a big problem as well, next thing. The thing has, for some reason, or like, not for some reason, but you can have Sansonetti on it. And Sansonetti, or like, I mean, look here, we already have a kill, which means range increase, which means also a slight dispersion increase, but mainly range increase. So you don't really need the spotter plane anymore. We have Confederate now, which means I reload in 21 seconds without a lot of AR. And you have the, what is it called, the improved expert loader, and they switched it on like, Duster told me, the Italian expert loader. I don't know if it's specifically for Italian ships in general, or if it's Sansonetti, but I think it's Sansonetti. You switch even faster. Essentially, it's like old expert loader, and even better than like old expert loader, where you can, even if you're fully loaded, you can switch in like 6-7 seconds. I don't really know how to phrase it, because I don't actually know what it is, but they just increased or improved the time even further. Yeah, so just spam SAP, and compared to a Thunderer, you can immediately switch to AP. And that's the funny part, because Cunningham or no, there's no British commander that gives you improved expert loader, I think. And that is done. Maybe they have added some now, but like for years there was no British commander with improved expert loader, and that was done on purpose because ships like Conqueror and Thunderer spam like mainly HE, and you don't really want them to be able to switch in like 6 seconds or 7 seconds to an AP volley and death strike a cruiser before he finishes his turn. You kind of want to have a you don't want to allow a Thunderer to switch even faster because it's really, like, let's say devastating, because there's no downside to having HE perma-loaded. But on this ship here, you can immediately switch to what's it called, AP. There's like no problem with that. Yeah, I mean, this game here, by the way, is obviously a loss. Pushed pretty hard. I danced a little between torpedo DDs and shit, and now the Slava is offering me like a drive-by opportunity. Which brings us to the next thing. That ship is hideously tanky, nose in, running at people. And on top of it, because it's very maneuverable and low in the water, it is an insane drive-by ship. Insane. Like, sure, you need to know what you're doing in that thing if you're driving by. Because if you angle up too early, or if you give the enemy the opportunity to access your broadside, the enemy BB, you will blow up too. Like, you have a citadel. But the thing is, you can drive by way closer to enemy ships than any other BB. Because your back turrets are insanely low in the water and therefore can depress really close to an enemy BB. Like a Kreml or like a heavy, like a Yamato, so they can't depress, or even a G carrier, so they can't depress very far below the water next to an enemy BB because their turrets are already, like, their hull is higher in the water. But here my back turrets, they can depress easily. Also here, by the way, his turrets can't keep up with me because I'm so fast. Still going like nearly 30 knots while turning. Yeah, I just blow him up. I mean, this drive-by can be done by any BB, but I think in the next game you see something where the back turrets are really they're pretty spastic. And next thing is, given we just talked about a drive-by, the turret traverse obviously is set to 30 base because we're not fucking balancing battleships around anything anymore. Like, we give them more speed than the cruisers, we give them better conceal than most cruisers, and we also make the turret traverse 30 seconds base every single fucking time we release a new BB. Like, we are having literal small towns. Small towns or fucking entire ships themselves, like the turrets of fucking Uchakov weigh as much as a DD probably, and we have them turn in 30 seconds base. Nice. And now we think back to Yamato, which essentially has 0 turret traverse, and then we think back to Monty, which also has like 45 seconds or some shit turret traverse base, or like really slow turning turrets, because it's a balancing aspect on battleships. Like, if you can't turn your turrets very fast, you are more susceptible to close-up fights, close-up rushes of destroyers, or like random cruisers trying to make a move. Like, if I want to make a move and I know, okay, I need like 20 seconds to finish off that move, right? And the BB has to turn the turrets for like 10 million years. Then I can maybe get away with that move and just cross, because he can't turn his turrets fast enough, right? Same with the reload, like maybe against the Vermont, for example. I mean, Vermont isn't really balanced, but still, against the Vermont or like even a Monty, I can maybe turn out, because it's 30 seconds space reload or 40 seconds space reload. That gives some cruisers time to turn out for free. This ship here has, what, 26 second, 25 seconds base reload? Something like that. Then you get AR, so you're most likely running on 24, 23 seconds. Then you get maybe a Sansonetti proc. You're running on 20 seconds or less. Like, you can't turn out ever against that crap. Coupled with fast turret traverse, it's just a nightmare. Like, you have overmatch, fast turrets, fast reload, good accuracy, tanky as shit, fast as shit, super well concealed, maneuverable as fuck. What's the downside, really? I guess the downside is the player base of Battleship Monkeys being too brain damaged to play the game properly. Therefore, we have to suffer through abominations of battleships. Every single time a new BB gets released, we're essentially trying to counter the last brain damaged release. Like, we had Vincent, best BB overall. Like, overall, best BB. Then you have Louisiana, fucking BB with barely any downside but gets funny planes. And now the funny part is Lauria is actually so broken that it counters the Vincent. Like, you probably couldn't play a Vincent into a Lauria. Most likely because you just get pent everywhere by the sap over time. And since it's pen damage, it grieves the heal. So what was the goal here? Like just countering Vincent by releasing a sap spammer that's even more broken? I don't know, man. I mean, look, surely this game, I mean, you only get 400k games if the enemy team is dented. So, like, I know you don't have to make the argument, like, there were paid actors in the enemy team. I know. But until 200k or so, I was essentially just spamming shit while being completely safe. At any given angle, got 10k volleys on average, most likely. Or, like, I guess it was like 10k volleys with sap on average. So, yeah, 300k game. It was, like, one of the first ones I had. Sadly, it's a loss because submarine and shit are brain damaged, but yeah, that's essentially it. Sadly, I don't have the end screens. Oh, wait, actually, they show now. Oh, okay, the replays have the end screens now. I didn't even know that. Oh, interesting. Nice. Team score? Yeah, it was a 2k, nearly 2k base loss. The submarine got a lot better spotting damage, but he was pretty brain damaged in the end. Yeah, it was a fun Lauria game. Just spam sap, switch to AP randomly, delete cruiser. Yeah, cap is obviously weird because it was late game, but yeah, also very tanky. I think I went through 4 heals, or did I go through? Again, it was 4 or so. Well, yeah. So we can even watch again. No, we don't want to watch again. We want to go into the captain spec while I whoop up the second replay. The spec on this ship is essentially mandatory. This is a ship where you wouldn't even argue about any of these skills. You should definitely run that. There's just no arguing. To be honest, get the fuck out if you argue. Seriously. The ship is so well concealed that and so well armored that I mean generally basics of survivability is useless. The base turret traverse is 30 as I said, so you don't need turret traverse. You definitely need ammo switch, but and Sansonetti is obviously just making the ship hilariously more broken. And you should always run it with Sansonetti. Brisk is active all the time. You go 40 knots with that thing then. So Brisk is like hilariously crazy. AR is given. And the thing is like there's essentially no arguing. You take improved repair party readiness. The entire ship is built on improved repair party readiness. It's hilariously tanky while having let's say, very little base HP compared to other BBs. Your improved repair party readiness is gonna proc a lot and give you a lot faster cooldown for the 4th and 5th heal even. Like, that is the thing why I said it's super resistant to HE. Like, you have barely any superstructure. And, like, you don't get really penned that much by HE either, apart from, like, as and nose. Because your deck is, like, this 150mm shit. And so you proc this thing fast because of your base HP. And if you're nose in, like, yeah, you just live. Even in kite, medium to long range, you just live. It's crazy. And if you take too much heat, you just go dark because you have 12-3 concealment for whatever fucking reason. The moment you go dark, you're going 40 knots so you can run away and repush or just run away and gain distance. It's so fucking stupid. I can't believe it. And obviously the 3 mandatory skills on battleships. There's no like secondary spec on this ever. There's no other spec on this ever. You play this and you become ultimate candy. You're a fusion of a Kramel and a Thunderer. That's about it. And what's it called? Like vigilance skill or so, just nah. Like brisk, you're fast, small, low in the water, nimble. You just take brisk. That's just it. If you eat torpedoes and you're mauling that you can't do much in your BB, then play with a DD in a division or pick a radar cruiser or just play more passive in your battleship. I personally don't find myself having that much trouble in randoms really dodging torpedoes, and eating torpedoes isn't like that detrimental. You can mostly negate it and only eat like 1 or 2. It's not the end of the world. Yeah. The modules, you go obviously reload. I mean, there is a spot for range mod, but since you run Sansonetti in randoms, you get a kill, you get range increase, and you have a spotter plane. I don't really want it. I want the demented DPM with SAP and AP. So you go reload, concealment obviously, prop mod, no arguing there. You always run prop mod. Dispersion obviously, then whatever the fuck that is. And I personally run DCP mod. I think it's the same logic. I mean, sure, it is not a a full USN DCP, but I think the base DCP is 16 seconds. It's pretty high, actually. You get like 25 seconds DCP. Makes the ship even more candy to play against as an HE cruiser or gun DD, because the thing can cover half. At some point, like for the last heal, you might be able to cover nearly half, otherwise like a third of your heal cooldown with DCP. Yeah, because in the end of the game, you might actually get your heal in like 45-50 seconds, because you do tank a lot. Like I had games with 3.4 million potential damage already, easy, and that is on that ship. That's like 25 to 30% of heal. That's crazy. So yeah, there on this BB there's no real arguing. I can only say that yeah, it has sub secondaries, and the sub secondaries are sometimes a bit funny because they pen cruisers for like a few thousand randomly, or a DD for like 3,000, but don't ever spec into it. I mean, but that's an obvious, or that's a given. Well, we can quickly, what is it called? Swap into the next game. Gotta quickly show the matchmaking. We're obviously blessed in both games we didn't have carrier, which is good, which is obviously suiting any sort of pretty well concealed fast battleship. We're playing in a division here actually with Paul Berger, crazy. But again, very nice matchmakings. Both games had torpedo DDs, but it didn't really matter that much. I essentially just positioned myself around DDs, submarines, or radars, and yeah, as long as I could. Last game I obviously got a bit lucky that the submersible is a bit dented, and the Cossack kinda too. This game is going to see a bit more, let's say, engaging gameplay. Actually going to win the game in the end, I think. It's a very close game. So yeah. What do you want to do in this ship? Going quickly over the gameplay. It's kind of like a flank BB, because for some reason with the brisk and shit and the base speed you were like 40 knots, so obviously with the concealment and the overmatch you want to be in a flank very fast in the beginning. Afterwards you can maybe go back to middle, maybe go a bit more central, spam your sap, but yeah, being in a flank is kind of what you want to do. This is also something that holds a flank very well against pushes, since you are that tanky, yeah. Yes, and always just remember, don't be as in too close to an enemy. Very important, especially against heavy ships. Over time, people will probably slowly but surely learn that if you're very close to a Lauria and he's kited, you can punch him in the asshole pretty well. Huh? Now it's not really that big of an issue. And always be careful about the 32 overmatch. So yeah, angle well to that. Or if you notice that a Yamato or a Satsuma is just permanently looking for you, you probably want to go dark maybe or reposition. It's not really worth it. Like you have 80k HP. Taking like 2 random sits or so would probably already end your game. That's also the reason why improved repair party rate is crazy. You have low HP, good armor, but a very, like, it's a standard heal. So what you want to have is more healing power, and you only get that through reducing the cooldown, because like the heal is nothing special. So I don't think it's improved at all. It doesn't have fast cooldown and it's not a super heal. So yeah, you want to kind of reduce healing cooldown there with IRR. Reason for that being, you don't have the range, so you will play at medium ranges most of the time, and you will get shot at, which is really cool because you can get shot at, especially by HE cruisers. You don't really mind it that much. Yeah. So, please don't play this battleship as a like super turbo camper. It's not designed around that. It's really designed to play with the team. It's the same with every BB. Like even Vincent or so, also the speed, the super yield, the nose and tank capabilities and shit, also running improved repair party readiness in Vincent, makes it a very good ship to have impact from start to finish by playing with the team and also offer your HP pool. It's completely contradictory gameplay to like a Satsuma or a Slava, which are essentially selfish base wankers that camp and snipe and are very ineffective at that. Like, unless you're a really good player and you really know where to be and where to crossfire, you're really pointless in these kind of BBs. So if you're a mediocre, mid-ish player, try to spec your ship BBs for turbo tanking. and survivability and play with the team. People just treat their BBHP pools as some sort of like treasure, don't want to give it up, which is very detrimental to game impact, because most BBs are obviously designed around the fact that they have to tank. Given an example here, or you're giving an example here now, like for example, if there's a Nevsky and you have an overmatch, let's say Ohio, or an overmatch, maybe Lauria even. Lauria is a pretty good example as well. You want to be within maybe 13 to 15 km of that Nevsky with your DD and pressure the Nevsky away while the Nevsky is essentially forced or wants to shoot you because mud damage. Nevsky wants to farm you. His farm is really ineffective. You pressure him away because you're closer, and your DD gains a lot of ground to play in. Sure, obviously, most DD players are brain damaged and shit, but that's kind of like what should happen, right? So I personally like to play generally how I should play in randoms, and only if I really notice that my team is brain damaged or my team already suicided, then you start playing selfish and run away and play for your own damage. But as long as the game isn't completely going tits up for your team because your DDs and shit are inting, you should still support them and go with them. It's bullshit to just park randomly and spawn and fucking wait with your battleship and then like essentially flip a coin as to how brain damaged are your people in the flanks, because you don't even know if they're actually that bad. Like if they die, you don't even know if they're really that bad. You might just not give them the support they need against like raider cruisers or DDs. Like your presence alone is support. If I am closer to the enemy team, cruisers are less likely to push up or play closer to my DD, so they might not even get raided ever. So yeah, like sitting back and then blaming everyone and always blaming the team is complete bullshit. I'm saying it because BB monkeys are just playing like that. BB monkeys are the most selfish, brain damaged people ever. And going back to the argument from the first game is the reason why we get these fucking brain damaged BBs. Because these people are playing them completely incorrect. They also, by the way, all think that they're like the biggest damage dealers and they don't have to tank. No, you're actually supposed to be the tank and you're supposed to deal significant damage at the right time to the right target, and then you're not really supposed to deal damage afterwards anymore. It's like you push into a flank, pressure away stuff with a Monty doesn't have overmatch, you get an angle on the enemy cruiser, you shit, I don't know, half HP into him or more, that cruiser dies, flank unlocked, you lost HP for it, and then it's over. This is your job. You're like a ramming bat. You can just compare it to heavy tanks in World of Tanks. You just play some fucking heavy tank flank and you block the enemy. You're supposed to block or push back the enemy. You're not supposed to sit in fucking base like a selfish dickhead and get your 200k average. And that's like really being honest here. Because I can't play the game as a BB because my DD's int. So this is the next big thing we could talk about. Like fucking destroyers that are inting. Because they all think they have to be like inside the cap after 2 minutes and forcefully sit in it, even though it's triple raider covered and there are 2 gunboats in their mouths and shit. Yeah, those people exist. And then there's the battleships that have 130k HP in a Satsuma or Uchakov and sit in base and are like, nah, I want to keep all my HP, bro. Fucking really stupid people, man. Oh, by the way, here you see it again. We had it in the first game too, in the Ibuki and shit. Stuff like Ibuki, Allende, San Martin, Des Moines and shit, you're really more, like, you're way more consistent in citadeling them flat broadside because you have the short fuse. So these flat citadel ships eat your AP like it's their fucking breakfast. They really want to gobble on your AP when they're flat. Against the battleship, I couldn't citadel at that range, most likely. It's quite hideous, the design. It's like making battleship monkeys not be able to punish battleship monkeys, so the battleship monkeys can keep throwing shit at each other and at other people for more and longer, right? Yeah, that's essentially it, like throwing shit at each other for longer, not being punished. And the people that have to receive the shit are essentially always the cruisers. Yeah, we make cruisers that can't really do anything against these battleships anymore, huh? Like Yodo, San Martin, like San Martin, by the way. Yeah, you could never kill a Lauria on a San Martin ever, like unless you randomly get close to him and you hit him with 5 out of 5 torps. Well, which essentially means you chance it on 1 or 2 volleys of him not death striking you, which he can easily close up for sure, even through the nose. Doesn't matter. Like you're lucky if he doesn't like 35k you with Sap angled while you run at him already, and then the second salvo just murders you. San Martin could never kill that thing, ever. Like, it's impossible, dude. Like, your AP does 0 damage to this shit. It has barely any superstructure. It has crazy plating nose in. Like, no, you're not dealing damage. It's so fucking bad. Also, the thing is really nice in Cyclones. I think we have a Cyclone here. Like, happens rarely, but it's really good in Cyclones because you have Brisk activated all the time and you're this weird fast battleship. So you just pop up at, like, there's a certain timing that people are used to in terms of how fast the battleship can pop up somewhere else. And all these new BBs completely shit on these timings. Like, even I don't sometimes know where the fuck could the Vincent with Brisk and Speed Boost or the Lauria with Brisk, where the fuck could these battleships be already? Like, I have no clue. These things do 40 knots. It's like, wicked. Guess I'm fucking chancing it today. And then imagine you're running around in a cruiser with 30mm armor and you know the thing is like full HP. And when you spot it, it's already 8 km close to you, so you're fucked. Nice one. Really good balancing, to be fair. Like, you're essentially just a punching bag. It's also really nice, like, San Martin gets death struck twice. That's why it has an F key. That's why it heals more Citadel and pen damage. And that's why it has a super heal with an F key together. So it gets death struck twice by the same battleship, which means Monkey can throw shit twice and be happy twice that he hit. Yeah? That's essentially what we're gunning for here with the battleship balancing. It's really crazy. Really crazy. Brain damage BBs. Also, yeah, coming back to the 32 overmatch weakness. So the best thing to counter Lauria is another BB. It's kind of like the Vinny. Kind of really like the Vinny. What's best to counter a Vinny? It's like maybe a Kreml blocking it. So Kreml can eat, like, Kreml has good late fuse, let's say, or like good fuse. You can easily Citadel it through the nose all the time. Vinny versus Vinny can't really do that. Other BBs like Monty have a hard time too, even Ohio. Like, you need a Vermont or a Kreml and they can smash it through the nose. And so like a Vinny can park in a Vinny, or a Kreml or a Vermont can park it and stop it. Any other ship, yeah, you're pretty much shit out of luck. You essentially need a BB to counter a BB at this stage. And, yeah, I mean, given a quick little detour into CBs, we have reached peak cringe in CBs with Uchakov being allowed and Kreml being banned. You have to forcefully run an Uchakov because the only thing that counters an Uchakov is an Uchakov. It's so fucking stupid. These battleships is so brain damaged. Like, if anyone ever copes about them not being tanky, them not hitting anything, then what the fuck do you want? You want 200k HP, 100mm or more plating everywhere, fucking super heal on all BBs, and your dispersion is FK Satsuma all the time? Like, what do you want, really? Like, where's the weakness gonna be, man? Like, seriously. I like gunboats, right? I love gunboats. I spam gunboats. I abuse Smaland and Ragnar. But I'm not gonna fucking tell you that these ships are, like, weak or anything, bro. They're broken as shit. Even French DDs and randoms are pretty fucking nuts. I mean, not as nuts as Smaland or Ragnar because of the Raider and shit, the game impact. But French DDs are still fucking broken. Yeah, sure. Or, like, for randoms, not for comp, because that argument is a whole different level. But yeah. If a good player against monkeys and randoms, gunboats are nuts. They're busted. The Gadan's crazy. Yeah, but I'm not gonna sit here and listen to like battleship mains coping about their fucking brain damage BBs that are released, while the cruiser mains hide in a fucking corner getting Yinan, San Martin, Sevastopol, Yodo, and all that garbage. Essentially just punching bags that get overmatched everywhere and have zero fucking means to kill any of these BBs. It's crazy. Fucking coping bullshit, dude. We have a lot of stuff in front of us, as you can see. By the way, here you see the short fuse. Petra has spaced armor and he was slightly angled, so that's probably the reason I don't get citadels. That's just a Petro thing. I had to be closer for that. But there's a lot of juicy shit in front of me here. And the gun angles are really good. Like, I can just shoot my back turret and angle in immediately. Here under the turrets. Like, look, I was already angled, only 12k. He shot a bit too early there, like he had to go for the drive-by. And I'm like trying to get as close as possible to him now, unironically. Turn in, essentially looking for a ram, because he won't get to depress his guns in this scenario. Look at this, look at this. He can shoot me now. I can shoot him with mech turrets. Easy. 4 sits. He couldn't depress. He literally couldn't depress on my front part. He could have depressed maybe on the ass further out, but that's already when I get the angle. Here his turret traverse is a bit fucked. There he missed his shot. That's on him being a monkey. But turret traverse on my part, I just swing around my ass and I death strike the next guy. I mean, sure, these people are a bit demented. The Slava drive-by was kind of fine. Like, that thing happens 10 out of 10 days there. Like, that guy dies. The Petro essentially fucked his shot. But he fucked his shot in the sense, he tried to hit my ass part, I think. And look at how low in the water... Wait, do I have a... Here. Look how low in the water it is. He ricocheted off the deck there, so he shot for that. And there is barely anything above water there. So he tried to hit it, and his dispersions just said no. It's very funny, to be fair. I really, really enjoy this ship, man. It's a great addition to World of Warships. Balancing is in a great state. It took me 10 games to get 300k games. This game we did a little fucking mongoloid drive-buying for the last 150k. The other game, it was essentially more sap spam, like 3 death strikes here, really cool. Allende gets one shot. Slava gets driven on. Yeah, it's amazing. I guess the best counter to it is really 32 overmatch or German BBs. In a brawl, German BBs. If the German BB is far away from me, I'll just sap into it, or even AP, and I fuck it up. Your AP is actually really effective against German BBs because you have the short fuse, which allows you to fuse even easier on their stupid deck or like a superstructure. And if they're flat, you just get full pens and stuff. Yeah, it's a really, really, really good boat. Yeah, it's like great, good job, great balancing. Yeah, it's amazing. I can only tell you, like, this one of these BBs, like an Incomparable or a Vincent, that gets. I mean, every BB is pretty shit alone or solo, because BBs need to play with or need to have decent destroyers and cruisers, all of them. Some less than others. Obviously, if the base BB is hilariously broken, like a Lauria or a Vincent, you can really play it solo and still have insane games. More often than not. Something like a GK or a Kreml would probably benefit more from playing in a diff than these ships. But in general, if you have a double diff, doesn't even matter. Either a Raider Cruiser, like a Petro here with Hydro, or a best thing would be like a DD. It can be a Torp DD that just spots for you, but it can also be like a Smarland. BBs become the ultimate cancer at this stage. Because the moment you have spotting with these fast and well-concealed battleships, the moment you have spotting in front of you, you become some sort of zipping around, overmatching, all-penning speed demon that never dies. And you one-shot people left, right, and center. Like, there's no counter to these things anymore the moment you have a competent DD in front. It's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah. That's about it. Now we don't want to watch it again. That's about it for the Lauria. I think it's worth it to get it immediately. Like, I mean, you get a free steel camo. It's not gonna be that much more like cheap, right? Because Mecklenburg is over 30k, 30,000 steel too. Like, the BBs are all like 32, 33k, right? So Lauria is only a bit more expensive. So I would get it if you have the steel. Probably most don't. Then you have to just wait and get it with a coupon maybe. But that's definitely the fucking steel battleship to get right now. Like, what is it comparable to? Incomparable, Mecklenburg, Schicki. So yeah, Lauria is definitely the best out of those. Afterwards, probably the Mecklenburg. The Mecklenburg in general easier to play, I would say. Just it's one-dimensional HE kite spam gameplay. But this one here is by far the best. It's like, there's barely any downsides to it. Said like 32 overmatches about what comes to my mind, and the ass crack is a bit open. So yeah, you just gotta play it properly, not think you're like a funny BB and you're staying close to an enemy battleship at 4 kilometers kited and think like, hee, I can tank it and I'm outplaying you because I'm in kite, you can't ram me. No, you're actually misplaying it. Like, in this ship, you just go in. If you go in, you go hard and you drive by or ram or whatever. But you don't kite out randomly close to people. So that's about it. Hope you enjoyed it, and I wish you a great time. Maybe see you on stream soon, and enjoy your Lauria experience in randoms.